So, taxes. So, taxes are a bit of a sticky subject because we all have to do it, but we're all still kind of like, how does one do it? Do you know how to do it? Do you know when to do it? Do you know how? There's so much fog around this thing that we are all legally required to do. But let's start from the beginning. Taxes are basically the government's main form of revenue. But because of this, there's literally so many misconceptions about taxes because it's this big idea, so many people, so many politicians can just give you information and you're like, I guess it's true because like I literally do not know every single thing there is to know about taxes. So it's always a good idea to make sure you do your research to know what like good versus bad policy is or what that even means for you. But here's one of the biggest misconceptions that just grinds my gears. Income tax brackets. So basically, the more you make, the more taxes you'll pay. And that's a whole debate that we're not gonna get into, but basically, let me just tell you about the fake news that gets spewed. First of all, not every state even does this. Some states actually have no income taxes, which is just like wild to me. Like, am I in the wrong state? I mean, they do pay more in taxes for other things that like the states that do have income taxes don't do, but like, that sounds like a pretty good deal. I don't know the math, but no income tax is like, imagine the paycheck. But, my friend, the big misconception is that if you make more money, then the higher tax is for your whole entire income. So it's like, why the heck would I wanna get paid more if I stay in this tax bracket, I'm only gonna have to pay this percentage? Like, why would I wanna pay more taxes and just get less money? Like, no. But it's a misconception. It's actual fake news. So say in this fake model that if you make between $0 and $10,000, that's worth 10% of income tax. So, period. First bracket. But then as soon as you go $1 over that, you will be taxed 12%. So in this model, literally, if you might be like, well, why would I want to make $100 more? Because literally 10,100 by 12% is less than $10,000 with 10% tax. Like, I'm gonna be giving away more money. I'm gonna be making less money in the end. But that's not how it works, y'all. Because only the $100 within the 12% will be taxed as 12%. The rest of your money, the first $10,000 of your income is only taxed 10%. Whether you make $1 million or whether you make literally $10,000 and 1 penny, your first $10,000 will only ever be taxed by that 10%. But y'all, an even hotter topic within the taxes world is how these people who literally make hundreds of millions, and in some cases, hundreds of billions of dollars, literally pay like a few $100s for taxes. Like, how are you paying less taxes than me? How are you paying less taxes than me? Let's start with us, okay? When we file our taxes, that means we are filling out a form, usually a 1040 form, which just means that we work for a corporation, we work for a business, or if you're self-employed, there are other different types of forms that you fill out, or even if you're a senior, they got a special tax form for you if you're a senior, because they make it a little bigger, they make it easier to read, like, they out here trying to help the people, and they recently lowered down the pages of the tax form to 2. Okay, they're trying to get it off the too long didn't read list, all right? Basically, the tax return, the form that you fill out for your taxes, it's gonna document how much income, how many expenses you have, like other tax-related things to figure out how much taxes you have already paid and how much you need to pay or how much you overpaid, like stuff like that. But as we've said earlier, the biggest reason that people fill out their taxes is because you literally are required to. If you do not want to go to jail or pay a fine, pay your taxes. No, seriously, do it. Unless you are under 65 and make under $12,550, you are required to file your taxes. But pro tip, even if you do make under that amount, because like I used to make under that amount when I was, back in my day working at Six Flags, and I didn't file my taxes, but like you might still get a little chunk of money if you do it and you making less than that. Because I had friends who was doing it when we was all making minimum wage back then, before we all had these raises in minimum wage. And they was like, yeah, I got me a little $100, $200. I was like, why did I miss out on that? So even if you make under $12,550, make sure you file still, because you might get a you might get a little return back, babe. And within the realm of filling out your taxes, there are three main components of the things that you fill out. You put in your income, cash flow, assets, y'all already know. Y'all already know. Let's talk about tax deductions, which is a very legal way to pay less on your taxes because, honey, we not trying to pay fines or go to jail. So deductions can usually be made for purchases that are within the categories of work, education, and investments. For example, say you do a job where you have to wear like really specialized equipment or gear to do your job. That would be something that you could probably use for a tax deduction. But this is the really annoying, scary thing about taxes. In one situation, something that can be deducted for one person might not be able to be deducted for another person. So it's always a very good idea to make sure you do your research and or hire a tax professional. And then tax credits are basically like a gift card for your taxes. So y'all, tax deductions and tax credits work in two different ways. A tax deduction reduces the amount of taxable income that you make, but a tax credit reduces the amount of taxes that you have to pay back. So for example, say we're in this fake world, and in this fake world you make $50,000 and there's a 10% flat tax. This would mean you only have to pay $5,000 in taxes. But say you was doing the right things and you get a tax deduction of $10,000. You figured out all the different categories and all the legally right things that you could do to lower your taxes, and you were able to do that by $10,000. With a tax deduction, that lowers your taxable income. So you go to your income, you say $50,000 minus $10,000 is $40,000. And because there's this 10% tax, now only 10% of the $40,000 is going to be taxed versus $50,000. And you save yourself a little $1,000 and you only have to pay $4,000 in taxes. So tax credits, like we said, work a little differently. So going back to our example where you make $50,000 in a world where you only have to pay a 10% tax rate, so you owe $5,000 in taxes. But maybe you got a little tax professional and they helped you to figure out, oh wait, you can actually do $1,500 in tax credits. Instead of like the deductions going to look back at your income and subtracting that from your income, you're actually going straight to the amount of taxes that you owe, that $5,000. So you're going to subtract $1,500 from that $5,000 with $1,500 worth of tax credits, and you are just going to subtract that number to get $3,500. So now you literally only paid $3,500 in taxes. And tax credits and tax deductions, my friends, are the reason why these super duper rich people are able to pay like nothing in taxes. But this is really how our economy works. The government, us as consumers, and businesses all work in tandem. So basically, within an economy, there are think about three entities. There are consumers, which are like us regular people who buy things, who work, and things like that. And there are producers, which is like companies and firms, and then there's the government, which collects tax revenue. So us as consumers, we buy things, we consume, and on all the things that we consume, there's usually a tax which goes to the government. But guess what? I can't consume anything if a business isn't there. But also, a business cannot even exist unless they have people to work, consumers like me, to work for them. So it's like all this circular thing, because if I am going to buy something, I need to work. I need a business to work at. But also, that business needs me to work for them, but they also need me to buy from them. But within all of these exchanges of like work and buying things, these things are being taxed. Like if I'm getting paid, Uncle Sam's getting his money. If I'm buying something, Uncle Sam's getting his taxes. If I'm buying a property, Uncle Sam's taking his. And within even businesses, like you're paying taxes on like inventory and imports and things like that. And then the government in turn takes that tax revenue and uses it for the very public free things that we get to enjoy, like public schools, public parks, paved roads, even though, they might not do it all the time, because if you ever drove in Philly, But yeah, basically in this circle of economy, we all work together. But let's make sure that we're working for ourselves and doing our research and getting those tax professionals, and just like maybe even getting Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I would highly recommend to best figure out how to pay less taxes for ourselves, but also just to be more knowledgeable about like what we're doing, because taxes are seriously it's so mystified. Like there's so many things that we just don't know as the normal everyday consumer that people who are more privileged, they know so much about. So y'all just take the time that you need when tax time comes, so make sure that you're not paying more than you need to. Okay.